Are you ready to vibe? You're listening to Creepy Vibes Only.
Happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Creepy Vibes Only, and I am your host, Steph. So, before I get started with today's episode, I wanted to make two corrections from Saturday's episode. As I mentioned in the show notes, ADD1, and I made a few mistakes. So, I just wanted to touch on those before we started. So, the first one, the creepy read story was submitted by Fading Floral and not Fading Laurel, as I kept saying. I had the right name on my page here, but my brain decided to read something else. So, Fading Floral is the person who submitted that awesome Hatman story. I also posted a link to the story on in the show notes if you wanted to go read it. So that's that for mistake number one. Mistake number two. The incident of the story of Fork River took place on March 27th, 2015, and not March 7th, 2015. Again, had the rate date written in my notes, but my brain went rogue again. So those corrections had to be made. I did write them in the show notes, but I just wanted to address it to you all today. So, with that said, that is the only announcement I have. So let's get started with this week's segment of Creepy Reads. So this story is another Reddit submission. It was submitted by the Aquatic Aussie 02. They posted it in the thread. I think this one was also ghost stories, and they gave me permission to read it, and we're very excited to have people listen to their story. It's a really cool one. So with all that said, here we go. This only just happened last night, and I've never experienced this before, but many weird experiences at home can be explained by it. As I was about to go to sleep last night around 3 a.m., I heard my door open and someone walk in. Naturally, I begin panicking, thinking that someone has broken into my house. I was turned away from the door and didn't want to move in case. Then suddenly, I feel the weight of someone crawl over me, only light as if it was a kid. Then they lay down next to me on my bed, holding my finger. Obviously, I am extremely confused, and am preparing to throw my blankets over them and bolt out of my room, but when I open my eyes, the weight of them on my bed disappears, and the feeling of them holding my finger slowly fades away. Other experiences I've had in the past, such as a girl's voice saying hello and light breathing outside my window, I've just brushed off as my imagination or sleep deprivation. But this was different. I was awake the whole time. I talked to my mom about this, and she told me that when she was pregnant with my younger brother about 15 years ago, she used to feel someone bump into the end of her bed and stare at her. Initially, she thought it was just my older brother or I, who used to come into her room at night if we needed something. But when she would open her eyes, she wouldn't see anything. However, one day she felt the bump on her bed and someone looking at her, but this time it was at the side of the bed next to her. When she opened her eyes, it was a little blonde girl in a nightie. My mom remembers following her out of the bedroom into the hallway and her disappearing around the corner. The girl was never aggressive and just seemed to want my mom to follow her and give her attention. And now I'm wondering if that's the same girl coming to my room now and just wanting my attention or some sort of love, hence why she lay down next to me and held my finger. Ugh, such a great story. The feeling of something crawling over you, that's just, very icky. I've got goosies. It's gross. You don't forget that feeling of getting touched by something you can't see. I remember having something hold my face, and I could distinctly feel the thumb and the fingers, and you never forget that feeling. It's very, very gross. But thank you, Aquatic Aussie O2, for letting me share this story. When I saw the story on Reddit, I immediately had to ask permission to share. And also, as the moment I asked, it had just happened. So I did tell them, like, let us know if this happens. And they mentioned that they were going to try to do some experiments to see if they could see what it was or feel it more often or like trigger it to come and see them and talk to them. I've checked and they haven't posted an update yet, but I will be keeping my eyes out. And if there's more to tell, I will be sure to share with you all. So, with that done, let's move on with our story of the day. So, I just want to do a trigger warning. There is mention of suicide. We're not, the story isn't based on the suicide. It's just, there's a story of someone who had committed suicide and some ways they may have, but it's all kind of a story or legend, right? So, with that said, let's move on with today's story. So, today we are exploring the Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It first opened its doors on December 11th in 1913, and when it opened, it was immediately known as the Castle of Opulence of Winnipeg, as it was the tallest building in the city and was built in a neo-chateau fashion that most luxury hotels in the United States were built in. The hotel had the pleasure of bringing many interesting and famous personalities, such as King George VI, Queen Elizabeth, Gordie Howe, Liberace, Lester Pearson, Louis Armstrong, and much more. The Fort Garry Hotel is famous not only for its castle like design or the famous personalities that frequented its halls. It is famous for its paranormal activity. The Fort Garry Hotel is known as one of Canada's top haunted locations. It often figures in the top 10 locations to visit if you want your own paranormal experience. So let's start with the most famous claim, which is Room 202. It is believed to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who committed suicide after her husband was killed in an accident on his way to pick up headache medication for her. It is rumored that she hung herself in the closet when she heard of her husband's death, blaming herself, and she stayed in the room waiting for her husband to return to her. That is the main legend or explanation as to why this room is haunted. But there are other stories, such as the lady commits suicide by either slitting her wrist or poisoning herself. But then there's also another story that the this couple was actually a couple from 1941, and their names were Kristen and Michael. Kristen and Michael were either engaged or had just gotten married, but one thing is that Michael's family did not approve of Kristen. So, without Michael knowing, Kristen was murdered, and some believe that either Michael's father murdered her or he had arranged for the murder. But again, these are all speculations. We don't know exactly who this lady is, but we believe she is there because of a love lost and that tied her to this place. So if you have the pleasure of staying in room 202, if you do go visit this hotel, you may experience the following, which have been experienced by both guests and staff. Some people have claimed to have seen blood or a substance similar to blood dripping down the walls. Others have heard wet footsteps walking from the bathroom towards the bed, but yet no one is walking, no one is there. In the middle of the night, they'll be woken up by creaking floorboards and footsteps walking around the bed. An unseen force will swing the closet door open, the closet light, or the television will turn on their own. And people have woken up in the middle of the night with a dark cloaked figure standing at the foot of the bed, just staring. Guests have felt someone sit on the bed or cuddle up next to them during the night as well. In 2004, MP Brenda Chamberlain slept in room 202 and was woken up twice by an unseen figure climbing into her bed. When recounting the story, she said, "It was like somebody was setting into position next to me, like my husband, only lighter. I actually felt the bed move." A young boy actually did stay in room 202 with his family on a trip organized by Make a Wish Foundation. So this young boy was fascinated with the paranormal, which I believe is why they've put him and his family in there. And he was very excited at the prospect of living a paranormal experience or activity. So he decided to document his whole trip at the hotel by taking pictures. He took pictures in every room possible. That hotel staff will tell you, if the lady likes you, she won't bother you. But if she doesn't like you, that's where the activity may start picking up. Guests and staff have seen her in the lounge area, crying in a corner, and as soon as she is spotted by someone, she disappears into thin air. Now let's move to the Palm Lounge in the hotel. So the lounge is believed to be haunted by a performer who was allegedly murdered by being shot in the head. So apparently, this performer makes his presence known by causing a headache or pain in wherever he would have been shot in the head to the people around him. And you know that he's around because all of a sudden you get that pain, and then the second you feel it, it is gone, just like he just floated away and disappeared. The Broadway Room, which is the dining room, is also a location frequented by ghosts. Specifically, there's a mystery diner that has surprised both guests and workers. So there's one specific story in 1889. A night cleaner had a run-in with this mystery diner at 4 a.m. As they were cleaning the kitchen, they heard a noise from the locked dining room. So quickly they went to see what was going on. They were surprised by the male apparition sitting at a dining table with their feet on the table. The cleaner, shocked, looked at the apparition and immediately ran to his coworkers to show them what he had saw. Naturally, as they all rushed back to the dining room, the man was gone. There's also a lady in this ornate white ball gown that is spotted around the hotel. She often is seen standing at the foot of people's beds while they're sleeping, but you may also be one of the lucky ones and simply see her gown turn the corner, and when you rush to go see if she's in the hallway, she's gone, only to see her turn another corner and play this little game of hide and seek with you. Now, unfortunately for the guests of this magnificent hotel, getting woken up in the middle of the night with someone standing at the foot of your bed seems to be one of the most frequent claim of the hotel. So to recap, we have the lady in room 202 that seems to do that or just jump in bed with you. We have the white lady with her beautiful white gown. We also have that cloak figure that is also seen in room 202. And there's also a male apparition that had decided to throw his hat in the ring as multiple people recount being scared in the middle of the night when waking up and seeing a strange man staring at them while they were sleeping. Now, our last claim is one from an employee. So they recount that as they went into one of the bathrooms, they had a flashback in their head of a trap door opening. Confused with what they saw, they kind of moved on, but suddenly they felt a weight on their backs, almost like someone had jumped on them and just was ready to get a piggyback ride. So the employee went on with the day, but the heaviness did not leave them. The entire day, they had this extra weight over on their backs. So finally, at the end of the day, they went back to the bathroom where it all happened and said out loud, "Okay, you can get off now." And as soon as they said that, they felt immediate relief as the extra weight just disappeared. Now, what was very interesting in looking into this hotel was not only all of these ghosts and their rich history, but there's a lot of different stories and mysterious incidents that may or may not have happened. To name a few, there's a story of a former cook who apparently murdered an employee in the basement. Now, other people say that in the basement, it used to be a ceremonial space, and people would see flashes of candles in a circle as if doing a ceremony of some sort. Also, apparently, there is a sub basement that is a secret to most people and is extremely haunted, and no one can go in there. But then in other reports, people say that actually the most mysterious and scary place is the roof, and no one is allowed to go there because nothing good comes out of it. But regardless of all of these mystery stories, the Fort Garry Hotel is a beautiful hotel that I strongly recommend you go check out. And maybe not, you'll be a part of history and some will talk about your encounter with one of the many ghosts of the Fort Garry Hotel. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that you've enjoyed this spooky travel advice or something. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you all in 1 week. See y'all soon. Bye. Thank you for listening to Creepy Vibes Only. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Creepy Vibes Only Podcast. And you can send us an email at cvopodcast@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe wherever you listen, download our episodes, and please leave us a review, ideally a really nice one. Thanks for vibing and keeping it creepy with us. We will see you next week. Bye!